Hello everyone, my name is Noshin Zainab and I welcome you all to KiwiTech's 808 workshop for startup and entrepreneurs to help them navigate the challenges of starting a business, making it sustainable and taking it to the next level. Our mentor session today is on topic how to create the perfect marketing funnel to get investors by Jeff Wenzal, Vice President Crowdfunding KiwiTech. Before we begin with our session of the day, I would like to invite our VP VC and Corporate Partnerships, Jessica Chinfu, to give a quick overview of KiwiTech.
I'm on mute, so there you go. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining to our workshop session. I'll just do a quick and brief overview in terms of KiwiTech for those of you who may not know who we are. So we're a global community of entrepreneurs, investors, mentors, and corporations who are interested in bringing more value to entrepreneurs on their journey to success. We have over 500 plus startups within our portfolio where we have an equity stake in and have supported them with our in-kind investment on software engineering of over 100 million. And we've assisted raising capital with over 100 million as well. How did we get here? This is the second venture from our founding team. We've scaled our platform from supporting startups in 2013 to launching a capital raising from demo days and access to capital, our workshop sessions, along with acquiring further services to complement our software engineering services with Graphite Financial, so from financial and accounting to an acqui-hired in terms of marketing and advertising. And we are aiming at supporting and impacting over 1,000 startups within the next couple of years. This is how our startup partnership model works for US-based qualified startups, where we would look at most of our startups are pre-A, where they if you need a technology partner and are looking at raising as well capital for it, that's where our model could be of interest, where we would take on in that scope of work half in terms of equity and the other terms payment. This is the deal flow pipeline that we have. So we've have over 122 plus startups that were contacted within the past couple years. This is more about our ecosystem. As I've mentioned, it is around the innovation space where you have our corporates, our other supporters of entrepreneurs, such as incubators and accelerators, along with our investor network, and of course, founders that are taking all the risk in launching out new ventures. As you can see, those are the various services that we have, and we're currently as well looking at acquiring various other units. This is the panel of our events where we open up dialogues for founders that may not have opportunity to speak up, such as our Black and Brown entrepreneurs. We also have our marquee events that are focused around family office, angel investor, and VCs to really bring our community of investors to learn a little bit more about each other, but also for entrepreneurs to get insights from that side of the community of investors. And now I'll let my colleague, Jeff Wenzal, VP of Crowdfunding, take over with the rest of the workshop.
Awesome. Thank you much. I appreciate that, Jessica. And yeah, so we're going to be talking today about sort of building out a funnel and what that takes for your marketing efforts or even for your crowdfunding campaign, which is where I focus mostly is in that crowdfunding space. But it's important that before you're jumping into any sort of marketing plan that you basically lay out a roadmap. You know, without a roadmap, how do you know what's working and what's not working? So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you through just kind of how my mind works before we jump into a campaign and before we start to lay out, like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because there are so many different platforms out there that you can market on. And then also, how do you sort of gauge what's working and what's not working, right? So you want to make sure like, hey, we put all this effort in. Is it working? Is it not working? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as we're going through. If you have any questions that you want to add to the conversation, please add them in there. We can either address them at the end, or if it's something that's right on topic, just give me a heads up or put your hand up and we can address that at that point. But yeah, let's try to keep the conversation kind of ebb and flow as we're going through this. I want to make sure I'm not just, talking over everybody's head. And if you need me to stop on a point and kind of talk through a little bit more, I'd be more than happy to do that. So with all that said, let me go ahead and share my screen and we can kind of jump right into building out funnels. All right. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So a tool that you're going to see me using quite a bit is a tool called Funnelytics. This allows me to map out and shape my funnels before we get into a campaign and before we spend a single dollar in marketing. There's other tools out there. Guru software, I think, is one. So again, if you just search any sort of like funnel building, you'll find some tools out there. This is just the one that I use. They all do basically about the same. So that's the tool that you're looking at over here on the left, where my screen is here. Now over here, you'll see a funnel, and this is a visual representation of basically what's in my mind all the time. I need a potential user or customer or lead to go through these different stages. Top one is going to be awareness. Do they even know that you exist, right? So there's marketing ideas for that, right? Like, how do we get people to be aware that you exist? From there, we want that person to do an action. We want them to either give us an email address, sign up for our chat bot, click on something 3 or 4 times, right? We want them to basically become a lead in whatever we're trying to sell. Eventually, they become a true prospect, right? You've gotten their email address. They've gotten 3 or 4 emails. Eventually, you would consider them a prospect. They are on the hook of potentially purchasing. And ideally, at the end here, they become a customer. And then the holy grail is that they go tell somebody else, right? They go and tell their friend that they should come in and make a purchase or sign up, whatever it might be. So again, a lot of companies struggle where they just focus right here. They're just like, hey, I want to do something that just gets us this customer. And I can see how you get to that mindset, but people have to go through this journey. I always kind of tell an exercise of like, go look around the things that you've purchased, right? Like I'm looking at, a little stand here that I'm using, right? I had to see that in my news feed a bunch of times before I pull that trigger, right? And everybody goes through that process. It doesn't matter if it's really B2B or if it's a B2C. People have to go through these steps. So with that in mind, I'm going to walk you through a few of the funnels. I'm just going to show you how I structure these and how I lay them out. But just know, as you're looking at stuff, I'm really thinking about this. So a couple different visual representations. So with that said, let's walk through kind of a really simple Facebook lead generation form. Now, this is something that we use quite a bit in the crowdfunding space, but this can be adapted for really almost anything. My goal here is to get data off of the bigger platforms like a Facebook or an Instagram, get the email, the phone number, the address, whatever info that they'll give us. And then I want to do drip emails off of that. So what I'll do is I'll very simply lay out, I'll hit this little icon button and I keep adding stuff in here. So we'll do Facebook ad that will go into a Facebook lead form. And what happens here is when they engage with the ad, a form will pop up and Facebook will pre-populate that information. It'll give us whatever's on file with Facebook will go into the form and the person just hits confirm. And from there, they go into our email system. So they become a lead. We will then create a Facebook retargeting ad based off of this data. And eventually they'll start getting a drip email sequence. So my first email will, hey, join our private Facebook group or join us on Discord. Again, it could be anywhere. It could be just a welcome email. Number 2 is, go to a calendar invite. Hey, meet me. Here's my calendar invite. Third email on this one in particular, I wanted somebody to fill out a survey. So we sent them over to Typeform. And then the 4th email, we do these things called colorized articles. They're just blogs. I asked somebody to read a blog about us. Now, once the traffic gets to this page, you can see I do another Facebook retargeting ad because that person's gone further down the funnel. And then eventually down here, we have, hopefully they've either invested or they have made a purchase. That's our ultimate goal. But again, I need them to go through this funnel. So if we take this, that Facebook ad is about awareness. That lead is literally, they become a lead. They start opening our emails. They become a prospect. And hopefully at the end of this, they become a customer. And the only thing missing here is I don't have a referral system in place for this one in particular, but I could very easily add that. So what also is nice is, and again, this is why I use Funnelytics, they have a scenario where you can actually track the numbers. So as I click on these things, I can forecast, right? I can put in a tracking code. I can see how long it takes somebody to go from here to there. I can actually map out the flow. And what this does for me is it gives me a sense of, how many people do I need to do some of these things for them to get from awareness to customer. So I need them to kind of walk through that journey from start to finish. So this is one example of a funnel. And again, the nice thing is, like I said, with this tool, by going through the numbers, the lead time, the flows, the forecast, you can start to predict if I have 1,000 people into here and that many people, 30% of them open this email, 30% open this, you can start to gauge what you think your campaign is going to do. And you can start to map out how much it's going to cost us. So this is again, pretty simple funnel, but visually I can map it out and it's doing what it's doing over here in my head. So let's look at another funnel that I lay out typically when I'm talking to equity crowdfunding companies about what does it take to run a campaign, right? That's what a lot of my conversations are right now. So I pull up this guy. Now, a lot of people are like, whoa, what's going on here, Jeff? There's a lot of stuff in here. When I run an equity crowdfunding campaign, there's a lot of work, right? There's a lot of touch points that a person needs to go through. There's a lot of different phases or stages that a company needs to go through. And that's what's super important about this. So again, I want to make sure everybody can see my screen. I just saw a note here. Everybody hopefully can still see it. So when you look at this, I'm laying out this over the course of about 6 months, right? Typical equity crowdfunding campaign is about 6 to 8 months. So let's just theoretically say this is about 6 months. So for most companies, they have to start with what we call a test the waters. So you always see over here, I've mapped out, all right, we got press releases going out, LinkedIn contact messages. I got some emails going to the client's newsletter. I've got an event that we do where we invite people to that. We record that content, and eventually that content is actually going to go live in an evergreen style webinar, right? So I need all my clients to kind of start here. I need them to get through this phase. We call it sort of phase one. And I need them to raise, minimum 50K in reservations, right? This is what this test the waters is. After that portion, when a client is filing their Form C, and then when they're going through the audit process, that's when we have a little bit of a lag time. So for me, we start getting into phase two, which for me, this is sort of this post test the waters. So again, we recorded this content here. I put this into a webinar system. I run a little bit of Facebook ads into that, and people now can watch the pitch, watch the 30-minute pitch. From here, all that data gets dumped into our email systems, right? You can see MailChimp, SendGrid, Klaviyo, whatever you guys might be using. And now you're going to see this is very similar to the form, the funnel we just saw. I'll do a Facebook ad into a lead form, and we do some more drip emails, right? So people are getting warmed up. So all that data keeps getting dumped into our MailChimp system so that we can continue to outreach them. Down here, we have the platform itself, WeFunder, Start Engine, Republic, whatever we're on. So we've got to make sure that those pages are built out. And then down here, we have when we turn on a full campaign, and this is after a company has raised 200,000, 250,000, we need to start scaling up. We start doing our outreach to our investor list, right? So we'll start reaching out to them, which is still a cold email. We start doing a full LinkedIn automation, so automating everything that we can do on LinkedIn. We have social media, pay-per-click starts, true pay-per-click with the different channels. We start turning on more events, and we have press releases. So at the end of the day, this is really, really helpful for myself, for my team, for people thinking about getting into this, to be able to stand back and go, okay, people have to kind of walk through this journey to get to a successfully funded campaign. And then at the end of the day, I'm just repeating this funnel right here at every different stage, getting people aware, becoming a lead, prospect, customer. When you're looking at this, this funnel is what we're using. When you're approaching, what you want to build out, this isn't something where you're just like, it's just a copy and paste. This is what Jeff's doing here. You really want to look at, well, what are the places that you guys are currently making content? How are you getting people through that content, right? What are they doing? And you're also gauging, do we have enough to support this, right? Are we running Facebook ads, Instagram ads? Are we set up for that? Do we have an ability to do LinkedIn automation right now, or LinkedIn marketing? So as you're building this out, you're really focusing on, what can you really do? What is your team comfortable with? What content you're currently creating? And then laying out that plan accordingly, because again, we can build out one from scratch, but you've got all kinds of different options as you're building these out. And you're just really trying to see, what are you, how are you gauging this? I want to start with Pinterest ads. All right. That's the type of product I have. So we may want to look at Pinterest and do a landing page. Let's say we want to do market viability. Let me show you, a strategy we use for this quite a bit. You guys can see this. So whenever we do like market viability, and I'm trying to determine people's intent, I will run ads into a landing page, and they will go, they'll get signed up here. And at that point, we would consider them a non-VIP. They've just signed up for our mailing list. But then I send them to a bridge page, and I ask them to put $1 in, right? Just like reserve, reserve your product. Basically, I'm trying to show intent here. And once they do that, they put $1 in, then they become a VIP lead, right? Like they've really done, they've done an action we want them to do. And then you have different drip emails based off of their behavior. If they never put the $1 in, they get different emails than if they do. And eventually they get to a Facebook group that, or a Discord community. Again, depending on what's right for you guys, and what you're working on, you may want to guide them into certain different channels. So like this is something that we use quite a bit for proving viability. Should we even do this campaign? Because if you can't get somebody to give you $1, they're probably not investing $500. They're probably not buying a $1,000 unit, right? Like, so again, this is something that you can build out too. And this is how I lay out the funnels as we're building them out. And then we can also pull out, I'm going to do one more here too. This is another one that we're using right now quite a bit. I'll show you what this looks like here. Let me expand that out a little bit more. This is what we're currently using for an active campaign on Start Engine or WeFunder. So again, you've got your platform here, right? You got your equity crowdfunding platform. You've got your checkout page, your thank you page. Here, we're doing different types of landing pages, and I'm running Google ads off of those. So the landing pages I'm actually putting before the equity crowdfunding pages. And the reason is that the data on equity crowdfunding platforms are quite dirty right now, meaning we don't own those domains. Like we don't own startengine.com or wefunder.com. I want to run traffic to domains that I own, and then do a UTM tracker from the landing page to here to see if somebody either invests or checks out. Now, off of here, we have different pop-ups that are happening. We have different pop-up strategies, exit pop-ups, slide pop-ups. Here, you'll see us do what we call bridge pages. And what that means is when somebody clicks the Invest Now buttons on our landing pages, they go to a simple Loom video that guides them through the process of how to invest. And it gives an opportunity for a little bit of personalization to our marketing efforts. And then up here, you saw me mention this before, it's colorized articles. It just means blogs that we write for our internal use. Down here, we do a lot of events right now in the equity crowdfunding space. So these events are typically going through your pitch deck, sitting down with a lead investor, maybe a big update that's happened in the company. And these events are typically on Zoom, and we record them here, similar to what we're doing right now. But then we'll rebroadcast those. We'll use a tool like Restream, and we'll push those back out through our social channels so the people who might not have showed up live are able to watch the content at a later date. So we'll do usually three of those throughout the course of a campaign. Up here, we use a tool called Relaxe. And what this is doing is this integrates with Sales Navigator and scrapes from LinkedIn. So us going out and trying to find, specific, either investors or trying to find people in our niche or our vertical. And we'll scrape that data. It'll dump into here. And we call this knocking on front doors. We're saying, hey, I saw you invest in XYZ. This is what we're doing. We'd love if you come and checked it out. And again, we're doing a combination of LinkedIn and cold email back and forth. You're going to have paid media in this. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, all of those are typically, like I said, running into our landing page. You've got your newsletter system, right? And this is going to be your newsletter system. Maybe you're partnering with somebody like us for our newsletter. And then eventually you got social media. So again, you're laying out and you're imagining touch points. How many times does somebody need to be touched on the shoulder before they become an investor or purchasing your product? And also what is that journey that they need to go through? So like I said, I always have this in my mind, and you guys should too, around like, first, people just need to be aware that you exist, right? So that might be, newsletters, Facebook ads, just get in there. And eventually, once you get that data, they get further and further down the funnel. So that's it. That's a couple funnels. I want to give you guys these examples of kind of what we're doing behind the scenes, why we're building these out, how we're focused on it. You can see here, I do this all the time. I am constantly in the mindset of like, what funnel can we run? I'm always trying to think about testing of it. I'm trying to think about, I just try to mind map this. Like, what do I really want this person to do if they're interested in us? Even I've got like a newsletter growth system where, let's see if this loads up. This might not load up, but if it does, we'll do where we have a referral system inside of our newsletters where the more they engage with our newsletter, they can win points. Yeah, this might not load up. I haven't saved this one in a while. So there's just a lot you can do with this. And I think it's really helpful before you get into a marketing effort to be able to lay this all out, map it, and then test it, and then see, hey, did this work? Did this not work? And if it doesn't, adjust it and move from there. So that's all I got for the moment. Why don't we go ahead and kind of focus on some questions here, and we can kind of just open up the Q&A section and do the chat. So yeah, what do we got here?
We do have some questions, Jeff.
Cool.
So do you ever have startups go through the process quicker than 6 to 8 months, or does that risk the campaign?
So, yes and no. It kind of depends on what your goals are for a campaign. Any campaign that's raising over, $300,000, $400,000, it's taking 6 months. It's just, it's a very saturated market right now. It takes a healthy amount of time. On top of, for a lot of companies, they haven't built that crowd yet. And that takes time, is just building up that awareness. Again, this is like 90% of my work, is just getting people to be aware that you exist. So very, very rarely is this a quick money. We only did it in 45 days or 60 days. It just doesn't quite work that way. Now, if you come to me and say, hey, we want to raise, $75,000 tops, you wouldn't even be at that level. You wouldn't be working with an agency. You would be going after friends and family. And at that level, yeah, maybe, but anything higher than, like I said, 300K, it takes some time to raise that in the space right now.
Right. Do you help companies identify a lead investor during the process?
We kind of help in terms of navigating like who it should be, but the reality is I've seen lead investors who's a brother or sister of a founder to somebody who's well known in the space. Just they've got a real track record in the space. It is something that you do want to make kind of a decision about. However, we are not a company that goes, I'm going to partner you with this guy and that will be your lead investor. It is somebody that's typically in your network or somebody who has invested in the past in you, and you're bringing them on now in this capacity to be the lead investor for the round on WeFunder or Republic, whatever it might be. So yeah, that's it, it's a conversation we have, and also sometimes too we'll have conversations around, does that lead investor help us in some of the marketing aspects? Will he be a part of our events? Will he, can we have an email that comes off of him, right? So are there scenarios along those lines that we can utilize him if he's, him or her has some name recognition, in the industry that we're playing with?
What is your process for startups to work with you to create a social media marketing funnel for product sales?
Yeah, so a lot of times we do start with some sort of market viability or like a viral giveaway. We'll start along those lines to kind of prove what's working, what's not working. Also, it might help us identify channels that we should focus on. So an example might be, hey, we really got a lot of people who engage with us on YouTube. Let's focus our next round of efforts over on YouTube instead of Instagram or TikTok, whatever it might be. So a lot of times for startups early on, it's identifying the channels that we can truly support with good creative and good content. So that's our starting point is where do we think they are? What's our hypothesis on how we're going to get there? We build out some sort of lead gen viral giveaway where we're identifying this is how we're going to go from A to B. And then from there, determine what kind of comes next off of that. You kind of take that data, hopefully learn from it, and then identify what comes next. So a lot of times it's just us sitting down. What vertical are we playing in? What are there any competitors that have done something that we really liked? Is there something that we can glean from that and apply to our model? So there's a lot we can do, but that's kind of our starting point is identifying who we think that persona is that's going to participate in what we're doing.
Right. What are typical costs like monthly or over the course of the 6 to 9 month campaign?
So kind of cost is a little bit all over the place because there's a lot of variables. I'll give you the big ballpark numbers if we are doing everything. And when I say everything, that's video work on down to, having the events, right? We are basically quarterbacking the campaign from start to finish. So we'll roughly be about 30K or so over the course of that 6 months. So you can kind of work that math out. And then we also have some companies that we will do that are a little bit more established. They already have a lot of their creative done. Those scenarios, we will sometimes just do a percentage of our ad spend. So that's an option that we will do sometimes. And again, but at the end of the day, for every startup, like we work with startups, so we always know that cash flow is an issue. We also will sometimes work around what is the disbursement schedule of these campaigns. So theoretically, we're going to do a disbursement at 200K. So we know that a chunk of that money is going to be coming in. That may be our second or third round payment, depending on just a lot of different variables. So we're really, really good at working with startups and making sure that we're hitting budgets that make sense. Also having budgets for ad spend, right? So again, lots of conversations around that. But that's kind of the ballpark of a campaign cost when the dust all settles.
Can you have a successful campaign without a lead investor?
Well, the lead investor is specific for certain platforms. You don't need to have a lead investor for Start Engine. The lead investor is really for WeFunder in particular, or any company that you have, or any campaign that you set up in SPV. And what that lead investor does is it represents the group of investors on your cap table. So that's why they have that lead investor role. So, like I said, Start Engine does not require that. So again, depending on platform, depending on what we're doing, sometimes you have to have the lead investor, like you have to have it. But if you're on Start Engine, you don't. But your company's typically further along in the startup journey if you're on Start Engine. Typically, the companies over there are a little bit more established than WeFunder. So.
Right. How do you create marketing material for your funnel?
So lots of ways. First, once we've identified, so let's just kind of go back to, let's just say one of these here, right? So if we've identified like a funnel, like this is what we want to do, well, now I need to think about what are my Facebook ads. So here's where I recommend one, you can use tools like Crello or Canva. If you're looking at video work, you can use tools like Promo. There's a ton of tools out there that help you get into creating content very, very quickly and for dirt cheap, right? Like, I mean, I think Canva is like $10 a month, and you may have to hire, somebody off of Fiverr or have a graphic designer around you to kind of really help navigate that world. but you can get into creative very, very quickly in terms of making content for here. The lead form, this is directly inside of Facebook, so we don't really need to do much there. The Facebook group, you just got to be kind of active in that space. So you're updating stuff, you're posting content that's relevant to your industry. This is your calendar link, so you're saying, hey, pick a time to meet me. So you're having this type of relationship. Survey, we use Typeform, for our surveys, but you can use any other one out there. And the Colorize article, which, I've mentioned that a few times. I'll show you what that is. We'll just look at one here real quick. Again, we write these 10 reasons why, insert your industry, and I just put them on different domains that I own. So, either somebody from your team writes that, or you hire a writer off of, Fiverr or Upwork or something like that. They, give them the material, let them crank out 3 or 4 different versions of these, put them on different blogs. And now you've got some content there. And now this content can be put in social media. Other people, what they'll do too is that they'll start with long format content. So this is something I do quite a bit. I'm actually doing it right now. I'll show you this in a second. So I will start with a podcast episode. So that'll usually be about 45 minutes to an hour. We record that content, and then I slice and dice it for all my channels. So we take out little snippets. We, you can do like an audiogram of them. And now you can take that 40-minute piece of content and divide it and slice it. So, or you can do what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to walk this in here. So you guys see my little gimbal thing here. So I'm actually recording myself on my phone as I'm talking to you. And this content, which is just on my iPhone, and this is a $80 product here, and it's making me look good. This gets sent to my video guy, and he's going to go through this 24-minute rant that I've done, and he's going to slice and dice it. And he's going to give me my TikTok videos, my Instagram reels, my Facebook posts, my little Twitter stuff. He's going to be able to take my 24-minute blah, 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 blah that I'm giving all of you, and he's going to slice and dice it for me. And all I'm doing is recording on my phone. Hi, everybody, right there. So, and again, that's something that, to me, it's simple. We're all walking around with a video studio in our pocket. Just turn it on. And again, you may have to go on Fiverr or Upwork to find that person. But, for me, it's like, for $100, I'll have, all my videos for the entire month of, September coming up. Like, so making content, lots and lots of ways to do it, or you got to get creative and just start doing it. So yeah.
Right. Can you skip parts of the funnel?
So are we talking about the funnel over here? If there's some clarity on that, I will just go with my assumption. The answer is kind of no. People need to be warmed up. And again, I will give you the exercise. Look around, all the stuff around you. Did you buy it from the very first time you saw it? So like you became aware of something and boom, I bought it for $500. In the investment world, there isn't anybody who looked at one thing once and invested. Oh my gosh, I just found this. Here's $2,000. Nobody has ever done that. They had to learn who you are, what's your story, why you're investable, why you're better than XYZ, what your terms are. People have to go through this journey. I'm gonna share one more quick thing. This might take me, just give me 2 seconds. Let me load up something here real quick. I wasn't planning on showing this, but this is, I want you guys to see like a journey for somebody. Let me go here. Right? This is an equity crowdfunding campaign. So you can see this data is taking from Google Analytics and showing me what the journey is and who they are, right? So 84% of my traffic is this segment right here. And these are people that are bouncing. They're not doing anything there. So if I look at their journey, they come in, boom, they bounce. They just don't do anything. My second segment, let's look at my second segment, right? Now this is their journey. So they're going a little bit further. They're clicking the invest now button. They're kind of, they're doing a couple things, but this is somebody who actually invests. And you can see they came from a Facebook ad on Instagram. That's my tag. 538 they got on the page. They didn't invest until 557. That's a long time, by the way, everybody, long time. I don't know if you guys have ever tracked how long you're doing something on the old internet. That's an eternity. And you can just see how much time they're clicking on stuff and they're going back and forth. So when I tell people, think about touch points, think about this journey, what you're seeing here is just this in a visual representation. They got to go through stuff. You'll also see here, they're on a computer. So you'll get a lot of traffic that's mobile, but they don't make that investment until they're actually at a desktop sitting down. So again, everybody's on mobile clicking on stuff, but to really invest or to really purchase, a lot of times that comes from desktop. So to answer that question, skipping the funnel, you know, sure, test it out, go by the data. Maybe I'm wrong. So yeah.
How do you budget for the different parts of the funnel?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So let me pull up a calculator that I use quite a bit. And you'll find this is actually going to tell me what I got to spend and where. So I pull up my calculator that I use all the time, and I'm going to put in here that we need to raise $100,000 per month, right? We put in our average investment size, what our cost per thousand is, our click-through rate. So let's say it's like a 1.3. My acquisition cost is almost about $190. So this is going to tell me where and what I need to spend per month to raise 100 grand. Ballpark, it's going to be around there. So acquisition is prospecting. So I need to spend about 19 grand in acquisition. Retargeting is going to be this portion over here, your lead and your prospect. So about $7,000 there. And retention, and I do a retention quite a bit in the investment space because a lot of people do small investments amount and then they give you more later in the campaign. So then I put a little bit of budget for my retention, people who have already invested, and which kind of fits into these two categories here down here. So this is what I do. I put out these numbers, I put my averages, and it spits out my equation. And again, this won't be exact, but it's going to be in the ballpark. You're going to see it's plus or minus maybe $500 here. It's kind of shocking how close this will get. Oh, and by the way, once you get closer to the holidays, this is going to jump up to like $40. This is going to definitely go down because everybody's running ads. If your acquisition cost gets more expensive, you can, whoa, we're spending more money. You know, you're just kind of working out these numbers as you're going through to figure out what to spend. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you for the responses and the presentation, Jeff. And with that, I would like to thank our mentor and guests for joining us today. And we'll be back on August 25th with 3 new topics. Also, I would like to pull your attention back on the screen as we have recently introduced a referral program at KiwiTech. This program rewards anyone who contributes to fruitful introductions to our company. Over the years, we have built this robust ecosystem of startups with the help of your trust and subsequent referrals. We realize it is time we give due credit to this trust through our referral program incentives. So if you know someone looking for tech development support to scale, join our referral program and follow the mentioned steps shown on your screen, or visit our website to learn more and contribute to our growth journey and earn incentives for your trust in us. Also, apart from the workshop, we have more upcoming events. As you can see on your screen, you can check out our website for the same. Do join us and we would love to host you on those events as well. Thank you and have a great day ahead.